How's it going? My name is Judd Lienhard, founder of the Mass Method. Today we're going to go over installments 7, 8, and 9 of the flow series. Now, if you're not familiar with the flows, I have previous flows posted on this YouTube channel. I would go back and reference those. My flows are an athletic way to prep yourself for your workout that also wire in proper athletic patterning and limb sequencing. They work your core and work on all of the muscles you're going to need to get yourself going for that particular workout in a safe and functional, but also very time efficient way. So we have a lot to cover today in these 3 flow movements, and I'm going to go over them in very specific and fine detail, so you'll leave here with absolutely no questions about how to perform these flows and do them safely and in an optimal way. The first flow I'm going to go over, it's kind of a moderate flow as far as the heavy to light spectrum. So you're going to want a band that's about, depending on your strength, that's about 1.5 inches wide. You want a little bit of give, and you don't also want it so thick that there's no give at all. So it's a good moderate speed flow. And of the 2 main ways that I've showed you how to attach the bands, today we're going to go over the one where you loop it around itself for this one and through the handle. So it's going to give you a nice little stretch. So as far as the cable stack height goes, this one you have a little bit of play with, and it depends on your height, but I normally go somewhere between mid-thigh and mid-torso. And then with this one, you're going to take the band and actually loop it over your chest like this. So you're going to be standing inside of the band. It's kind of hard to see in some of my videos. All right, and then you're going to back out so that the weight comes off of the cable stack. It's a robotic machine here, so there's actually no cable stack, but there's constant tension on the band. You're going to take this far arm, and you're going to loop it through the band and apply external rotation pressure against the band. So your shoulder blade is protracted here, and you're having to apply pressure from the protracted position. It's a very important athletic characteristic because when your chest gets collapsed in, you need to be able to exhibit strength to reopen your chest back up so somebody can't just fold you over and push you down the line. So you're going to apply that tension first. Then you're going to get in a nice wide athletic stance here. Very similar to a lot of my other flows. So you're going to want a knife edge here on the outside of your foot. Heels are kind of loosely off the ground. You want to kind of be on the balls of your feet. You're going to knife edge the inside of this foot, and you're going to be slightly internally rotated here. In a nice quarter squat position, wedging that way so you produce force this way because you don't want to get that weight over that hip over this ankle. So you're going to want to keep that hip over this ankle right here. Now, you're going to take this hand with a slight elbow bend and hook it around both bands just like so. So this isn't a push flow. This is a rotational flow. So you're going to be here. You're going to start ground force through the ground here, internal rotation, apply external rotation pressure here, activate your core. You're almost going to push away from yourself a little bit, and you're going to try to get this hand even with that ankle in one fluid motion. So you're going to go back, drive through the ground, start with the feet, internally rotated, followed by the hips, core is tight, external rotation pressure with the left arm, push it away from you like that. So the elbow doesn't move in this movement. Apply pressure with both arms, finish with the core tight. A key piece of this flow right here, remember, is it's not a pushing motion where your elbow moves. Slight bend in your elbow to create strength, but then your elbow doesn't move, just your torso. So my elbow angle does not change. Okay, now for this flow, this is one of the heaviest and hardest that we're gonna do. It's a segmented flow, so there's actually 2 parts to it, and it's pretty fatiguing and tiring. Now, these movements can be used as a movement prep, but they don't have to be. You can use them in your workout as you see fit. They're pretty safe and can be easily and safely implemented as a standalone movement or in between sets of something else, or on days where you want to mix in some more metabolic demanding things like rowing or sprinting or something like that. They're very flexible type movements. So like I was saying, you're gonna want a fairly thick band for this, but the reason you don't want like the thickest band is because you're gonna have to double the band over, and you're gonna need to be able to grab both sides of the band with your hand. So unless you have like extremely large hands, you won't be able to grab both sides of the band. So this is an 1.5 inch band. I think that'll work for most people. So we have 2 main ways to attach it. Remember that one is the band loops over itself, and the other main way to attach the band through the handle is you just run it through, create an equal distance on both sides here, and then you take one hand and run it through both sides of the band, and then you actually grab the band with that hand. So see what I'm talking about now? If that band was any thicker, I probably wouldn't be able to get a good death grip on that band. Have a pretty heavy load set up on the machine here. It's gonna be pretty challenging. So you're gonna take it and you're gonna pull it away right away, you're gonna have a hard time, if it's heavy enough, you're doing it right, walking away, and you're really gonna have to get that center of mass, center of gravity feel, because it's gonna wanna pull you back towards that cable stack. Now, you're gonna knife edge the inside edge of this foot into the ground. Make sure this knee stays on this side of that ankle, because if it doesn't, it's chain reaction, it's gonna pull you towards the weight stack here. Now, when you go to pull, similar to the flows, you're gonna let this thumb rotate down in internal rotation. You're gonna let this shoulder blade protract, very important element. You're gonna let that knee internally rotate so everything is pointed in the direction of pull right here. Now, from here, you're gonna get a nice hard pull and you're gonna hold. Then you're gonna get reset up, take this hand here, and unlike some other flows where you put it on the band, you're gonna put it right on top of that other hand. This arm isn't gonna be doing much of the work. This is gonna be the work arm, but having this arm right here helps stabilize this hand so you can push against a really heavy resistance. Then you're gonna get here and you're gonna drive straight through, abs tight, chest straight ahead, and then you're just gonna resist back to here. And then what you're gonna do is just restart the flow, fluidly sinking into this position, and then just start over with a heavy pull, reset. See how I get a little warm up going there? Grab this hand, drive it through. As you get better at these, you can go a little bit more powerful in your movements. Here, boom, load, drive through. So I want to emphasize here, unlike the first flow that I covered today, which was more of a rotational flow, this is a pushing flow. So after you get it to here and you recock, you're going to take this just like a chest press and press it straight through, as opposed to something like that, straight through. It should be heavy enough to where you can't do it that way. All right, so I'm gonna go over the last flow of the day. And before I get into it though, I'm gonna go over like band selection a little bit in general. So this is a flow you can mostly do at home because it doesn't require a cable stack. And for this, you're gonna want a kind of a medium-sized round band or a medium-sized flat band. And I'm gonna go over kind of the benefits and drawbacks of each one. It's not like one is better than the other, but they are both suited for different purposes maybe, but they are kind of interchangeable at the same time. So the good thing about the round band is it's tubular, so the stretch is much more even. The tension, it gets greater at a much more predictable and evened out rate, basically, than a flat band. But the good thing about the flat band is it's easier to grip and create leverage and pull than a round one, just because of its nature. It's easier to attach to weights and things like that. And also, it's much more comfortable if you have to loop it around your leg or arm or something like that, because a round band is gonna wanna roll up and down on you a lot faster. So it really is not one is better than the other, but one is kind of more suited for certain things than the other. For this flow, this band is a little bit more suited, but this one is doable. Now we're gonna go into the attachment. So the attachment, you're gonna want this the best is probably a little bit lower than waist height, like mid-thigh to maybe halfway up the thigh. And this is, you're just gonna loop it around itself. The common way to attach a band at home is to just loop it around itself just like that, okay? What is the purpose of this flow? When we row in the gym, we're always rowing with our chest up, pulling our shoulder blades back, depressing our shoulders. That's great and that's fine, but it's not the only way we row. And if we don't row other ways, we're not gonna build adaptability to other ways that we're gonna have to row in life. Every time we pull on something, we're gonna try to pull their chest up. That's usually not the best way to accomplish a task. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put the far hand through the band like this. We're gonna get a nice wide athletic stance. Now we're gonna start the row with an elbow up row. So it's gonna get more like lower trap, teres major, things like that. It's gonna de-emphasize the lat just a little bit, okay? So we're gonna hold tension there. Now we're gonna take this hand, we're not gonna take an underhand grip, we're gonna take an overhand grip. And then instead of pulling back, like see how I can't stretch that band very far when I try to pull it back. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use my abs and I'm gonna sit down on it. I'm not trying to pull my shoulder blade back here. What I'm doing is it's just shoulder extension, and I'm using my abs and I'm sitting down on it. And then I just repeat here, overhand grip, internally rotated, abs, sit down on it. I take this other hand and I collapse it inwards and I just sit down on it. You'll feel those abs working, you'll feel those obliques working, you're gonna get a good lat workout, you're gonna feel your bicep working. It takes a lot of forearm strength, it takes a lot of front leg strength because you're having to torque into the ground or like apply pressure into the ground here. And it'll kind of get you away from some of that bodybuilding, chest is always up, shoulder blade's always back, the stuff you're already doing, which isn't wrong, It's just not complete. So real quick, let's talk about your stance selection with any given move and the rationale behind what stance you choose to take. And this knowledge can transfer to more than just my flow movements. It's pretty much lifting and athletics in general. So basically a rule of thumb and a good principle to go by is where is your knee in relation to your foot? Okay, so you always want your foot closer to where the load is than your knee so that you can create a shin angle going away from the direction of pull. So that might seem a little bit confusing, so let me explain a little bit. So let's say the anchor is there and I'm trying to pull the band this way, right? So what I'm gonna want if I'm facing sideways is I always want my foot, my ankle, closer to where the load is than my knee so that I can create torque, or leverage rather, not torque, leverage away from the direction of the load. Now look what happens if I don't do that. See this? Now my knee is stacked. Now when I pull, it pulls me that way and I lose leverage. So it's all about leverage, right? And to create good leverage, we need good angles. So now let's say that I am pulling straight ahead. I want to face it, right? My ankle needs to go ahead of my knee. So if I start here and I pull, knee goes over the ankle, I fall forward. See that? I have no leverage. I put my foot ahead, I leave my knee behind, I squat down. When I squat down, I lower my center of mass, making it even easier. And then when I pull, I can create leverage away from where I'm trying to pull. All very important things to consider when doing any movement, not just the flow movements. If you guys liked what you saw today and you're interested in finding out more, you can go to my Instagram. It's Judd Lienhard. You can also go to my website, juddlienhard.com, pretty simple. And under that, it'll have both my Instagram and it'll also have my Substack, which just came out, which gives you really in-depth information about mass method, all of these movements, the theory behind the movements, and a new article is going to be dropping on there at least once a week. So you're going to have a lot of in-depth articles to go back and reference if you really want to get into the weeds about all of this stuff, how it works and why it works, and then also how to implement it. So make sure you like and comment, subscribe, and then if you have any questions, leave them in the comments and I'll go back and answer them all.